You're on mute.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a session on AI-powered data security as part of a value stack series. AI is transforming how organizations manage and secure data, but most are a bit unprepared. With breaches averaging US $4.4 million and 97% of AI incidents are linked to weak access controls. I believe it's time for us to put our focus on understanding how to really protect our data. Vikram, do you want to move to the next slide? Thank you. I'm Upasna, CEO of Bluebricks, and with me today we have Vikram Sareen, our co-founder and CTO, sharing his knowledge on the topic. We are Bluebricks, and we accelerate businesses worldwide with AI-first security and automation solutions. Before we begin, just a quick housekeeping note. Today's session will run for around 20 minutes, followed by 5 minutes for Q&A. Please stay engaged and feel free to drop your questions in the chat. If you face any technical issues, just refresh or restart your browser. This session is being recorded, so you'll have access to the recording as well. So when data is not secure, compliance collapses, customer confidence disappears, and even the best business strategies can come to a halt. And with that, we, just setting the context for what's to come.
Sure. I think let me take over and share. So I think this is typically for any enterprise. You have your end users that are over here, and then they'll be coming through the internet, or if they're sitting outside or inside the office, and then there'll be a router sitting there. There'll be a firewall, hopefully. And then they'll be coming inside. This is called DMZ zone, where you'll have a lot of web apps sitting there. Now a lot of things are on the cloud, but then still if the enterprise is using it, so even if it's a cloud or on-prem, still you have applications running, and then you'll possibly have somewhere your database and your application sitting and helping you to get your job done. Now things can go bad. You could have possible viruses which could be sitting somewhere. There are vulnerabilities in the software, like many times now Cisco and others have also been found out there have been, issues. So obviously keeping that in mind, every software can have some vulnerability. So these are the spots where, things can go wrong. But then what happens is that you have a blast radius, meaning something goes bad. A virus gets activated, malware starts, harassing or abusing. So if it is happening at the user's end, it's okay. It's very localized in on that machine, right? But then when it goes a little bit beyond, that means your application at the back end, that is where the blast radius is much bigger. Why? Because it is impacting all your users, your partners, your vendor, your business as a whole, right? And there could be more that is coming in. So there are many reasons why a business blast or radius blast is there, either because of a single database or having not the right privileges, having lack of, I would say, MFA or single sign-on. Why am I sharing this slide with all of you to start off with this? That even if we embark on the journey of AI, data security or authentication, we need to understand what is at risk. So what is at risk right now is the business, is your reputation, is the damage that it can cause legally, non-legally, and then at the end of the day, it's not a good thing to have. So we need to be aware what is at stake before we dive into the how AI is going to help us out with the data security, right? So am I going to secure the endpoint? Am I going to secure the server side? What am I going to secure? Yeah, so that's the starting point we want to jump on.
Yes, and thank you, Vikram. That actually, I wanted to raise this question before we get into the details. Why do we see so many companies not having data security in place? Is it cost? Is it too complex? And is it user behavior, or are hackers just too smart?
if there is option number, 5, which is all of the above. I think that's what is happening here, because I, I, I think users do get gullible, but users are getting smart over time, right? So if 20 years back, users were not that smart using technology. Now they are. Companies have become smarter. Regulations have, caught up. Hackers are also becoming better. Looking at deepfakes, which AI is using. AI, the hackers are using for. So I think the answer is not that who is responsible, or it's more the question of, as we are progressing ahead and things are evolving, everybody needs to evolve. We have to accept the change and we have to move forward. So as a company, as a user, as a regulator, as a business, we have to move ahead and adopt what is new and what can be at stake and what I should use it for. So if it's a gun, I can use it for, becoming a robber or becoming a police person, right? Or law enforcement. So we choose how the technology can be used. So I hope I've answered your question at the start itself. But yeah. Okay, shall we proceed ahead? Yeah. So now I think one of the key things which we want to dive into before we get more zoomed into data security is that we need to talk about identity, right? So identity is who you are. So now beautiful thing is that with invasion of I would say AI coming in and AI agents coming in, or agentic AI, which is being talked about. I think we'll be doing a webinar on that also soon. So who can be a human? It can be a non-human. It could be a service account. It could be an AI, right? So who are you? That is where your authentication and authorization comes in. But then when we go into the security, it is also about how, right? How I'm going to secure it? What data I need to secure? Is it based on the role that is coming in, right? So am I going to use encryption? Am I going to use tokenization? So how I'm going to secure it, right? But when we combine who and how together, that is where the beautiful thing starts happening and we can protect everything. So in this particular webinar, we're going to talk more about the AI powered data security aspect, but it's equally important to have the who and the how working together. Yeah. So whenever you're looking at a solution, look at who is going to access the data, what authentication authorization they have, what role do they have, and then also say how I'm going to secure the data, what are the means and ways I can secure the data. Yeah. Because you could be somebody who has all the good access and right access, but then the data is clear text and which is made available. So a couple of use cases we'll talk about later. Also will bring who and how coming out together very, very well. Now, before we start, I think these are the 3 terms that we need to be very clear of. So data governance, data privacy, and data security. Yeah. Now, data privacy, security, and governance, they go very much hand in hand. They're very much together, right? If I have data, I need to have privacy around it, right? Where lawfully and ethically who can access that information or get that information. And security is, if I have the data, how do I keep it? Do I tokenize it? Do I redact it? Do I mask it? Do I encrypt it? And obviously, I have to have governance on top of it, which is, do I have the right set of policies? Who are the roles that are going to access the data? And this is very, very relevant because they go hand in hand, as you see, in the different use cases and the, progressive of this particular webinar we'll talk about. Yeah. And then the life cycle of data. This is something which is not talked about much, but if you look at it, somebody came in, was a tenant, in a house, and they have left, right, after 1 year. Now, do I still keep the data, or do I, purge the data? Correct. Now, many a times, things are not being purged, even though they have lived their life. So this is a question that the company needs to ask. So governance will sit on top of how you look at privacy and how you look at security playing a role. But all 3 are a very, very strong, prominent pillars of your data management or your data ownership. So going further down. So I think so. We'll look at a couple of use cases over here, and I've kept it very short and sweet. Obviously, each use case we can dive it much deeper. So we'll take 3 examples. So the first example is for real estate. Again, picking up from the previous line, that if I'm a real estate company, I have my leasing agents, I have my sales agents, I have my runners, inspectors, and they are going and showing apartments, houses. Then there are these tenant applications which are coming in. There are these statements getting generated. There are owners that are coming in and logging in. So there's a lot of data that is actually coming in, which has private data, which has financial data, which has a lot of information that should be protected, has to be protected, right, as per the regulation. So then obviously when we spoke and we talk about challenges, in most of the companies like these, there is, you will have technology, but it will not be the best of the breed. You possibly have 3-5 years, old, stack of tech that is running, so, and you'll also have tech people, runners, inspectors who are not really tech savvy. They can use the stuff, but they are not really into it. Then you'll have a lot of disjoint applications. Some are on the cloud, like in Australia, we have PropertyMe, which is a great tool system. Then you have your other systems which are running on-prem. Then you have varied endpoints, Windows, Mac, iPads that are running, and then you have your own servers, and then you don't have a dedicated, sales IT team. Then the churn is high in this industry, and then also these people are coming, going in and out, or doing short jobs or temporary workers. They also bring their own devices. So the patching and security becomes a bit of an issue. And then obviously looking at, a data backup, because you have a lot of data that is getting generated. So do you back it up on database, on-premise, or do you move it to the, to a, cloud or a cloud bucket? So what we gave, as a solution, to many of the, I would say, property companies, is that to simply to solve the solution which is not too technical, which is cost effective, and which actually works for them, was a browser extension that kind of gets installed on your Chrome or your Safari or Edge browser. And then that is the one which is responsible for looking at the data, if it's private or not, and then masking it out. So there's a AI component running and helping that, agent, which is the browser extension, to actually do the job. And on the other hand, what we realized was that we cannot change the legacy applications. On the cloud, they are the new ones, so we can do something about it. But on-prem, there were applications which are old and they're giving the data out. So we put a reverse proxy server where we have the data which is moving in and out at a hyper speed through APIs, what is coming in and what is going out, request and response, getting masked real time. So even if you see it on the browser, it is actually masked away, or it is made unreadable. Then another thing which we did was, because there's a very high churn of people going in and out, and many times we don't remove the accounts when we talk about life cycle, data life cycle, or identity life cycle. So we used AI to actually intelligently look at which are the accounts that are not getting used for last 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, and block them or make them dormant or make them get pushed from the account. So this also helped in removing unneeded access to people, or the employees of ex-employees from a data point of view. And then the next thing was, if you look at a property company, they get a lot of documents which are financial, from bank statements to credit, scores and all that. And in that scenario, the document has data inside it, not an API, not a, like a simple text, but inside the document. So we had the AI, help us identify the document, see where is the PII or personal data or sensitive data, and quickly redact that. So that was a great use case, because it really, really reduced the human effort, as well as, brought in the technology to play the role its best. And lastly, there is always these keys and secrets which are used, right? Now we can call passwords, we can call API keys, these are something which are used for authentication and authorization. So now what we did was we used AI to actually look at, where are the keys? What is the pattern of them? And then say, hey, at the endpoint on a computer, we found some. So we quickly masked them away, or deleted the file. We did the same thing on the server side, if it's in a log file or if it's this thing. So no legacy system was changed. Users was interrupted much. These components came and played their role very well, and they did a fantastic job over there. Yeah. So Sana, I know I spoke quite a bit on this, but this was the first case I really wanted to emphasize more on that. Yeah.
No, thank you so much. That does put, it's good to understand that context. Typically, in a property management company, do we need consent from the users for enforcing AI-powered data security?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. If you're following GDPR or similar, I would say, laws across the globe now, At the time when you're capturing the data, that is the point where you need to get the consent and you need to inform the user that how you will be using the data and storing the data and when the data will be pushed out. So you have to be very, very clear. So that is where you have to get the consent of the user. But now once the data is captured and it's moving across different systems, you're analyzing it, you don't have to get consent again and again, right? So legally, you need to get a consent at the start of it, that what you'll be doing, how to be managed. But then later on, when it's moving between the systems, you don't need to get consent. I hope I have tried to answer that.
Yes, thank you. And a lot of times, say property management companies also outsource part of their back office work to vendors that are out of the country, right? Let's say somebody's in Vietnam. So, who is accountable? Is it the end user? Is it the vendor in the different country? Is it the SaaS provider? Is it the cloud provider? Who is accountable in this situation?
Wow, I think again, another great question. So there is responsibility and there is accountability, right? So you rightly said that. Now, responsibilities of all the different entities that you mentioned here, whether you're a cloud provider, whether you're a service provider, whether you are, the company itself or employees of the companies, directors of the companies, the board, and also the end user, right? We all need to take our own responsibility of doing things. However, the person who is responsible, or I would say the entity who is responsible for this is the company, because company is the one who is asking the users to give the data, is giving employees the access to the data, is using systems either on the cloud or on prem, doesn't matter where they are. It's the company who's making all these decisions, right? So that means the responsibility lies on the company. So if something goes wrong legally, company is going to be responsible for that. And this is one of the things which kind of gets into FOMO and JOMO mode, where a lot of companies do not realize that they are obliged to, follow certain aspects of, while you're vetting your vendors, whom you're taking software from, how they're looking at data, storing the data, managing the data, right? And then going towards the other side, also informing the users that, hey, this is what we're going to do with the data, and also doing awareness programs with the team, employees, in-house, external, doesn't matter, right? I can have people sitting in Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, wherever, but it's my obligation as a company to inform them what they should do or what they cannot do with the data or with the system that is being given to them. Yeah. So I think a great question right at the beginning of this, but it really brings it up. Yeah.
Thank you. So that means that it's up to really the company to do all the correct checks, select the right vendors, put the right policies in place, do the right kind of education. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. No, I think just want to add one more thing, and that is why most of the companies are expected to get certifications like ISO 27001. The reason is because if you're in the supply chain, right, whether you're in property or whether in oil and gas or banking, whatever, if the vendors have that, then the company which is consuming your services also feels confident that you have the right systems in place, right? From people point of view, from processes point of view, and also from products that you're using, right? Which is great. So I would say companies, when you're vetting the companies, you should look at ISO 27000, SOC 2, and also you should try to, also get yourself certified, So that is one of the best ways to actually showcase the world internally and externally that, we are doing the best, for the economy and for the world. Yeah. So let's go a little bit faster. Okay, so the next two use cases, Sana, is also on a very similar line, but obviously the idea over here is to share that even if you're a different business, we all are playing with data. And data is coming to us, we are doing certain things with data. So in this use case, which is, for purpose, medical organization and NGO, so they have data coming in, which is obviously, very, very highly sensitive data. And that is getting exported, imported into the AI systems, to analyze the data, using machine learning and things like that. So what we found was that, there's the data getting uploaded into the public LLM, which was obviously a serious concern. So why? A user would do that because they want to analyze certain things. So they're using some, Jupyter or some, workspace online in GitHub, and then you're also using ChatGPT. Hey, analyze this for me, or clean this data for me, or create synthetic data for me, giving the starting reference, which is original data. Then you have these secrets and notebooks. So what happens is that when we enable our users and employees with systems, they don't think about data security. They more think about functionality. I need to get the job done. Here is the tool, and I will use it. And in a way, it's a very valid thinking, because it's not them supposed to think how we need to do it, right? Then obviously, this medical entity did not have a internal IT team. They had a MSP, managed service provider, who's offering them assistance. So obviously, things get a little bit slower. Obviously, these are non-techie researchers and students who are just taking and putting data left and right. Then very, very similar, to the earlier one, different endpoints. So over here, the solution that we came across was, which made sense for them was, to obviously bring in the, reverse proxy to manage the data going in and out, and the browser extension that we talked about earlier, then AI prompts for the, data going in and out within the firewall, then tokenization. So real-time tokenization. Tokenization is a little bit different. So what happens is that, if I think all of us have been to, these queues where, you only get served where you go in a queue, you get a number, 115 or something, and the next guy gets 116. And, so you wait for it. So that means you get a token against something. Now that something in this case is data. Yeah. So that means you don't exchange this, data with each other. You exchange tokens with each other. Another great example is card payments, where merchants, banks, both the banks, one which has the user account, one which has the merchant account, issuer, so there's something called 3DS over there, and they also use tokens now. So it's enforced, not a law, but it's an enforced standard by PCI DSS, which actually does that. Then in their case, in the medical case, it also made sense to bring in a little bit on the identity part, which was bringing the single sign-on and MFA. The reason for that was that because who is uploading, what role do they have, whether they are authorized to upload or not, those questions were asked, and they could be only answered by the identity aspect over there, which could supplement, or complement the data security aspect. Yeah. So I'm going to go to the next, I would say, use case. Or Sana, do we have any, questions popping in from the earlier use case from the purpose?
We do have questions. We do have questions, and because of time, I'm wondering if we should take just 2 use cases in this.
Yes, I think we have, but I think let's do take the questions because they're more important. They're coming in.
Let's do justice to the use case that you have spoken about, and then we can have another session for the 3rd use case, because I'm sure this is helpful information for a lot of us. And now, when we talk about medical, a lot of them use chatbots that handle sensitive or personally identifiable information. So how do we ensure that this data is protected in real time? Vikram, is that where AI-powered API screening comes in? And can you just share what that is all about?
Yeah. So again, I think we all are using chat, OpenAI or Copilot or Gemini, which is great. I think it kind of helps us to do critical thinking and kind of use the LLM capability to actually support or further reason. So I think the question that you're phrasing is again comes down to who is doing it, right? Whether they are educated enough to put the data over there or not. Now imagine that if you're using OpenAI within your browser, so the extension solution works very well, where if they are putting a file which has a lot of sensitive data, then immediately the extension will quickly use data classification using AI. So in this case, we use a SLM, so small language model, which quickly looks at data and says, oh no, this looks like a sensitive data, and we will not do that. So it blocks the user from uploading that particular file, or based on the configuration, like the way we solve this problem is, it masks the data or substitutes the data, and then post it to ChatGPT. So in that way, you are not forcing the user to stop their work, but at the same time tell them that, hey, this possibly looks like a sensitive data. Let's substitute it with something else, or let's mask it and then give it to ChatGPT. So that's a clean solution where the user experience or usability is coming into play with security getting enforced. So I hope I have answered that question.
Yes, it's also quite relevant for all companies that are handling PII data, not just medical records, but employee data, customer information, your location information. And this is all sensitive. So what you're saying
Yeah.
is that AI-powered data security can classify that data, flag it with that this has potential risks, stop it from
Yeah.
being uploaded incorrectly.
Yeah,
Am I
correct,
correct?
correct. So you're right. You're very right. Okay. Firstly, everybody is a data company, right? Like it be a property company, medical, tech company. Everybody is a data company, right? So we all have to be sensitive to what data we are capturing, how we are capturing, what security we are putting in place, what processes putting in place, right? Now, bringing AI powered makes it much more smarter and intelligent. So that's the whole purpose. But what we are doing is fundamentally the same thing. We are, so in this case, we are saying we are de-identifying, or we are, for the purpose that is there, and then, risking the downloads that are happening because somebody uploads, another guy downloads, there's a bit of a risk, right, of sensitive data. So you're spot on that the purpose is to bring AI to help us do things better than what were getting done earlier, right? We had data security. I am in this industry for the last 25 years. Data security is as old as I would say, 40, 50 years. But now with AI, we can do it even better, smarter, more efficiently, and give better results. So that's the whole purpose of bringing AI into data security. Yeah. Okay, great. So Sana, I think we will try to cover a couple of slides, a little bit more. I think we are a bit off time, but I think just to bring it. So in e-commerce, I think it's similar. The only thing which I want to mention over here is that e-commerce, they need, they will have need for, and a lot of external parties like their merchants, like their vendors coming in, suppliers coming in, and then obviously users giving their, data like from their address to phone number and all that. So, and e-commerce many times are enforced by PCI DSS if they're using online, payments. So I think e-commerce definitely, companies have to definitely look at data security very, very seriously. Yeah. So if a malicious script is being added or data is getting leaked out to, through chat and other places. So they need to look at security very, very closely, not just look at who you are and, where you're coming from, but more about, what is the data that I'm capturing, how I'm securing it, right? Now, if you have old data, which I want to highlight over here, if you have old data, before, you implement like solution like ours, you can actually run certain migration or certain, batch scripts that can actually do the, I would say, manage the data and mask it away or, substitute it. Yeah. So I think what I'll do is go a little bit faster. I think in next 2 minutes, I know we have overshot the time. Don't make any assumptions. That's dangerous. This is our, army. We'll not go into details from endpoint to browser to file folder. So everything is powered with AI. So if you have a set of files which are coming and getting dumped on your server, then you can actually quickly mask them and encrypt them. So we have these agents that can actually do all the job, and they are led by the, by the master, which is the general, and that is the product where you can enforce the G part, which is the governance part, the policies part, the rules part, right? So that the privacy and the security gets balanced, and enforced across, the whole company as a whole. So we'll not go into these details, but this is an excellent list that, what AI powered capability can be there for addressing data security. And then, so we have talked about few of them in the use cases, and then where it gets applied, how it does it, and why it matters, and what's the co-guarantee and the KPI that comes in. I'm not going to go into details. I think the deck will be available, after this, after this webinar.
Yes, and I just want to add, if somebody wants access to that, you could please just reach out to Vikram or me on LinkedIn, and we'd be very happy to share it with you.
Sure. If you have any use case of your own and you want us to tell how we can solve this problem, we'll be more than happy to, work with you and figure it out what's the best way. And this is exactly what this slide kind of shows over there, that if you're doing your assessment, how you're going to look at it, right? What is the change that it will bring in? because change is always resisted, but change is inevitable. Correct? Now AI is obviously bringing a lot of change. So what can I do over there? Then what is the supply chain impact that we talked about earlier? What is the legal and the compliance cost? If I'm not doing this, what is at stake? Okay. If your data is very short, ephemeral, you're running an event, you're just capturing person's name, storing it somewhere, don't worry about it. You don't need to, your event is over, data is gone, it's okay. But if you're somebody who's storing the data, let's say, the third use case, or let's say a legal, entity or a lending company or a bank, right? They will store it for 7 years. That means if they're storing their data for 7 years, then they need to bring in the right, security and checks and bounds in place. Yeah. So, Sana, I think I'm just throwing the slide. Sorry, I think I was talking in between. This is the slide I was talking about, where we can, look at your own assessment. So every company should do that. We help them out, but we should, consider taking it forward. And then I think very, very quickly, I think we just have a minute left. These are the actionable items that you can look at it. So you can go back to your team and say, hey, let's get on the drawing board. Let's get some coffee or pizza, and then sit down and look at where my data is, how I can, where it is getting accessed by whom, what kind of, systems I can bring in, from browser to policy to database, to GenAI, firewall or filtering. And then, how do I back up my, backup and logs and stuff like that. And then, you can take it forward. Now, keeping that going, there's a data sheet that's available. And more importantly, we have this for you, which is basically, you can enjoy, a 15 device premium for us. Let's say if you're a company which has 15 employees and you want us to help us out with your data security, and also we can do an assessment for you, to tell you how it can work forward. And that's the last statement. But I think, Sana, I'll roll it back to you. If you have one more question, we can take it, or let's wrap it up. Sana, you're on mute. Yeah. Okay. So I think Sana is on.
Sorry, yes. I was just mentioning that we have overshot on time. But thank you so much, Vikram, for sharing all of that information. And I hope that it's been very helpful to whoever's been listening. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.